Welcome to another exciting episode of the Elevate Frequency. We have one of my best co-workers I've ever had here in the school, Natalie Shortsleeve. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very unique name. She got me motivated to get another episode up. So very excited. And it's a very unique time. We're heading into the holidays.
About to be Christmas.
About to be
We're in
Christmas.
holiday season.
Yeah. So, and in the holidays, it's very unique. People are going through many different emotions, whether they're happy, sad, don't have much stuff, have too many stuff, have things to do, don't have much things to do. You know, one of the things, well, the main thing that never changes is fitness. Whether you're doing it or not, people are always having goals, setting towards
Exactly.
the New Year's resolutions, which is the every year.
Yeah, it's this fake deadline we set to wait until we start our goals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's this time of year. It's actually funny you mentioned that. I just came out with a holiday guide on how to stay on track with your goals. You know, so often we think, okay, it's the holiday season. I'm going to not stay on track. I'm going to go to all the parties, eat all the things. I'm not going to go to the gym because it's out of my way or whatever it may be. And I'll worry about that in January, right?
Yeah.
I hear that. I'm sure you hear that from clients all the time.
Ridiculously. A lot.
Yeah.
All the time. Well, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself. Let us know
What's been going on the last couple of years. So I am a graduate of AAPT, and prior to that, I worked in a law firm, and I was overworked, overwhelmed, and eventually overweight.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't live that unhealthy lifestyle. It didn't feel right. You know when you just don't feel right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this isn't me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to find me again. So I decided to join a gym and start working out again. And there was one day I was sitting on the mat, and I'm sure I've told you this before. This is why what changed my life. And I decided to start working out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting on the mat, and I realized I was smiling ear to ear.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that moment I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much pride and joy and accomplishment in the workout that I just finished. And so right then and there, I decided I was going to help other people feel that way.
Awesome.
So I came across the street to AAPT. Yep.
It could be clipped in.
No.
Go ahead.
So I was sitting on the mat one day at the gym, and I realized I was smiling ear to ear, and I was just so overwhelmed with happiness, those post-workout endorphins flowing through you. And it was that moment when I realized I needed to help other people find that joy.
Oh, amazing.
So I decided to quit my job in the law firm and start becoming a personal trainer. So I came here, and I loved training people and helping people get strong, and with the byproduct of losing weight. It was really cool and it was really amazing. But I noticed that when my clients would stop working out with me, they would eventually stop working out on their own, and they would eventually regain the weight, and they would lose all those habits and behaviors. And that was really frustrating to me. And during COVID, I decided to pivot, and I went back to school, and I studied nutrition. And I started coaching clients on nutrition and cleaning up their eating habits.
Well, you were playing a lot too, because I kind of followed you during COVID, and you were doing a lot of baking.
Yeah.
You did a lot of baking.
I was really enjoying.
And a lot of yoga.
Yeah, a lot of yoga, a lot of cooking, and just figuring out recipes that worked for me. And in that time, I actually lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And I
Which was crazy. Which Dimitri was the first one who said, have you seen Natalie?
Well, I had the time to put into myself, right?
Yeah.
I really had the time, and it was not even just having the time, it was the time. I had reached rock bottom, if you will, when I decided I need to change my life. And fitness was not the end all be all, is what I realized. And so nutrition had to have some type of component. So I got myself together with that, and I went back to school, and I started coaching other women on nutrition. And same thing with fitness. I saw great success with my clients, except the same thing started happening. Months after we'd worked together and they'd lost the weight, they'd come back because some event happened and it triggered them, and they spiraled back and they gained the weight back again. And that's when I realized that the missing combination, that perfect combination to truly create a lifestyle change so that you're never going to regain the weight is to truly not change your habits and behaviors, but to change your thoughts and beliefs about yourself. This is, I say this all the time to my clients now. You get what you work for, but you keep what you think you deserve. Because think about that, right?
Pretty deep.
You can work out all you want and get a six-pack.
Yeah.
You can starve yourself and you'll lose the weight. But if you don't truly believe that you're worthy of that, better fit life that you so desire, your actions are not going to align with your goals and you're not going to see permanent results.
I totally agree. And me coming from my path and whatnot, I've done several shows, which got me down to where I like to look like.
Yeah.
And then I spiral back. It's almost like I had an internal spiral like your clients had. And, I finally reached a place when I got into what we're going to talk about, that now I found a balance, but I've also now accepted, I accepted this path. I accepted how this path, what this path does for me.
Yeah.
Is that acceptance? I know what you're talking about. I can't really explain it.
I love the way you say that. I love the way you say it's acceptance. It is. I'm accepting, and you're accepting whether this is, they're accepting this is the life I want to live. And for those listening, is the life you're living right now the life you want to live?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, we'll get into it. I'm really excited to hear, what you've been doing fasting-wise. But that's an acceptance, right? You're accepting that it's going to be difficult. You're accepting it's going to be hard. And, whatever your better fit life means to you, it's an acceptance process.
Yeah, I agree. So overall health, this just leads into overall health. So how does yours look inside and outside? How do you make these two worlds that clash within people function like a marriage?
I think the biggest thing is realizing where your values and priorities lay, right? Everything in life is all about values and priorities. And what is realistic? What is realistic for you? We can all say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. I'm going to go for a run every day, or I'm going to eat perfect every single day. But is that truly realistic? And what you were saying earlier, is that the life that you want to accept? So if you have a certain goal, like a fitness competition, you're accepting that you're going to be 100% all the time for a short period of time, right? But for longevity, overall health, my response to that is, well, what does comfortable feel like to you? And let's see how we can push a little bit out of that comfort zone, but stay in a realistic zone. So for me, it's interesting. I used to work out every day. In a gym, I used to be here every day. And then since COVID, I went fully virtual. I had not stepped in a gym in almost 4 years.
So that's why you kind of said that earlier. I got a gym membership.
So I just got myself a gym membership 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And that was a really big moment. And I fought every step of the way going into that gym because it was uncomfortable. I found comfort in going for long walks. And I did. I maintained my fitness by going for hikes, going for walks, doing body weight fitness at home. And that was great, but I needed something a little bit more.
So you would just say that just the energy of people?
Yeah.
Just seeing other people working and kind of in the world that you like to be in?
Being in that gym environment, I liked being around people who are looking to push themselves, and stepping out of their comfort zone. Because it's really easy to stay in your comfort zone because your brain likes comfort, right? It's going to stick with whatever is familiar to it, whether it's beneficial or not.
So are there a lot of phoners in your gym?
It's interesting. I don't even realize, because when I'm in a gym, I'm so focused on just doing what I set out to do. So I have not noticed the, what did we used to call the leg press machine, the texting machine?
Oh, yeah. That and the recumbent bike.
Yeah. It's hard on the treadmill, but people still find a way. They find a way. I like to listen to podcasts or music when I'm on a treadmill. I can't read something, I'll get nauseous.
Like now, you can listen to this one now while you're on the treadmill.
Yes.
Okay, and so let's get to the Mama Jamma.
Yeah.
You know,
Talk nutrition.
yeah, nutrition. You know, it's fitness is a whole world, but again, like there's a marriage. You know, I strongly believe, you know, the body responds to balance, and I'm a big balance person. I know you're a big
Same.
balance
Yep.
person, and you know, like to every good, there needs to be some bad, and the bad is not necessarily bad. It's just like it's just the opposite side of what you
What
feel
feeds
is
your
good.
soul?
Yeah,
I
or
like to
even
say.
what kind of energizes it to do the good. You got to go through the bad, no matter what it is. And nutrition, I feel, is the bad, and the fitness is the good. Where it's like, oh, if I just go and run 20 miles, I'm going to lose 10 pounds.
Yeah.
But no, if you don't take care of this guy, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think what you fuel yourself with might not necessarily, and it's funny because immediately you'll see different results. Like you will see immediate results, but so often what we fuel ourselves frequently today, we're going to see the effects next year. You know, we're going to see the effects in 5 years. So treating our body the way it should be treated now, we're, you know, yes, we'll get higher energy if we eat right, and we, you know, won't feel so low, but like you'll really see the actual like body effects in years to come. So I'm really interested to ask you questions about the fasting, because I know you've been fasting a lot lately.
Yeah, so like I told you before, I've dove into the bodybuilding world, and in the bodybuilding world, even like when we learned in school, you're taught like proper nutrition, you know, calories in, calories out,
Macros, all that,
or
yeah.
even like the calculations to get your calories, you know, and then you hear, you know, what's out there is the whole calorie deficit. So my whole thing is always an experience. I always dive in to like,
Yeah, you're all or nothing.
yeah, and it's not to be like all or nothing, because I think people should test things out to make sure it works.
Well, it's all or nothing in experiment, right? You're experimenting.
Correct.
Does this work? Do I like this? How does it make me feel? What
Right.
are the results?
Because at the end of the day, like from what you said before, is whatever experience you get in, it should be something that, for mental health, it should be something that you can do it for a long period of time.
Yep.
And this was something where, oh well, they always throw starvation in there, and you know, we always hear you're not supposed to starve yourself, but why not? And this is where my questions started to come in.
And recalibration.
Recalibration and seeing things from our ancestors, learning from our ancestors is like, okay, how did they do it? They did it without doctors, they did it without this. What did they do? And one of the things that came upon it was fasting. And I was just fascinated on how we, as you know, the caveman, you know, you had to be, we're hunters and gatherers.
Yeah, it's
so
a feast or famine type of environment.
feast or
Yeah.
famine. So it's like, okay, we don't live that world. And I get it as newer times or whatnot, but those newer times is not necessarily adjusting. I know from a fact that nothing beats organic. You can't, it's like, you know, our industry is going more online now. Our industry is never going to beat the face-to-face.
Yeah.
The hands-on touch, I don't care how big internet gets, once these interneters feel the one-on-one touch, they'll go, man, what was I doing? You know? So regardless, I kind of had all that going on, and diving into that world, I was like, okay, we don't do this much. We only do this when we sleep. We don't eat when we sleep.
Yeah,
And
but that's fasting.
And that's
you know,
fasting,
When
yeah.
I have a lot of clients that they come to me and say, oh, I intermittent fast. And my first question always to them is, well, what does intermittent fasting mean to you, right? Because technically we fast every day. We fast when we sleep. And so I always ask, what does it mean to you and why are you doing it? Because the answers I get, well, oh, I skip breakfast, you know. Well, why are you doing that? Oh, you know, I'm not hungry in the morning. Well, why are you hungry? Oh, you're eating at 2 a.m. Well, that would answer that question.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm always curious that, well, what's your reasoning and why? You know, what does it mean to you and why?
So, in terms of body composition and whatnot, that's my world, and I have to teach my clients on how to like just attack it.
Yeah.
And so how can I do this without making this one feel like, oh my God, like that's a road that I can't even lead into? I like to experience it. So even the diets, I experience all that. The pescatarians, the vegan.
Yeah, because you really live what you preach. You want to know exactly what. If you tell someone, this is how, this is what I recommend, it's because you know exactly what's going to go down. Not only because you studied it and you researched it, but you lived it.
Yeah, right. And I always, like, for my ladies, I always say, look, listen, when you buy lipstick, right, or any type of hair product, or any type of product, you're not going to just cake the whole bottle, right? Even if it's the first time and you cake too much, it's like, ooh, that was too much.
Yeah.
But you learned something, all right? And now you adjusted, and now you'll never mess up that bottle. You know which bottle you like. You're always gonna go with it. This makes my hair or whatever, lips look great, and it lasts a certain amount of time, and I love it.
Yeah.
But
it's a trial and error. Exactly.
It's a trial and error. And when I attacked the fasting part, I kind of dove into like what's happening chemically inside us. So I started learning more the science behind what's happening inside, where I learned that your body doesn't know what's happening out here, it just knows what's happening inside.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is we want to lose fat. So I literally, I went right to the very pinpoint. I started looking up, okay, I need to go back to the basics. What's a fat? And obviously lipid, you get lipid, triglycerides, fatty acids. I said, okay, all right, great. What are the types of fat? Subcutaneous, visceral, brown fat, white fat. You learn about all these fats. So I'm like, oh man, this is fascinating. It's like webbing out. So I'm like, okay, the fat under the skin. What is it? I literally, what's the fat under the skin? Subcutaneous fat. Okay, what is subcutaneous fat?
Yeah.
Subcutaneous fat. They're like, it's triglycerides. I'm like, oh, okay. So now we're peeling the layers back. What's a triglyceride? Triglyceride are 3 fatty acids bonded in a bond called glycerol.
Yep.
So they bind it, boom, and then your body stores it. So it goes, okay, so then how does the body use triglycerides? Is like, oh, it uses triglycerides in the state of ketosis. I'm like, oh my God, wow. So light bulbs just start clicking. I just know all about diet. I'm like, okay, so the only way we can tap into fat under our skin, which is where everybody's like, I got to get rid of this, I got to get rid of this.
Oh, I need that, what do they call the extra tire?
The last 5 pounds, the last 5% is like, okay, so those are triglycerides. How do we tap into it? We have to be in ketosis. How do you get in ketosis? The only way to get there is you can't be eating. So now it's going against the whole bodybuilding world where everything is like every 2 hours, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going against it. But I'm like, you know what? I've tried it. It doesn't work.
Let me try a different way,
This is a new way, so I'm just going to do it. So then I did it, and boom, I saw a show. It was called Limitless.
Yeah.
And he dives into that, and then he shows different cultures utilizing it on a daily basis. So I'm like, okay, these people do it as a lifestyle. I'm just asking to do it once. At that point. And then I did it, and it worked. I was like, okay, wow, I just lost, this many pounds. Now again, the whole refeed piece. How do you feed again? I was like, I don't know. But all I know is that this worked. So I was like, okay, let me dive into it further, because now we get the fear of like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose all this muscle. I'm gonna be too skinny and whatnot. So now I had to dive into more of the hormones. Okay, what's our growth hormone? The human growth hormone. So I'm like, let me learn about this. How does it work? Oh, so then I read that in a fasted state, the human growth hormone it
elevates, jacks up,
exponentially. So I'm like, well, why? Because in a fasted state, your body needs to preserve what you're using. Or what it needs. It doesn't know what it needs if you don't stimulate it. So this is where the whole, you need to get after it, you need to work out, blah, blah, blah. Everything just started making, in my fitness brain sense. I'm like, okay, so if I just train it, I'll be fine. So then I said, okay, so then I'm gonna do another 4-day fast. And at the same time, I'm gonna work out during this fast. I'm gonna make sure I'm stimulating everything efficiently. Like, obviously, like, you get sore, you don't not get sore, but your body actually recovers very fast.
I want to hear about your mindset with on the 4-day fast.
Yes.
That's got to be
Yeah.
some demons popping up.
And you learn a little bit from
I
the
go
show.
4 hours and I become a hangry bitch.
Yeah.
So.
And then I learned about that. Like
Yeah.
those are all hormones regulating. The ghrelin, the leptins, the glucagon, the insulin, all those things, they just start working together, and each of them work in unison, but they can also cross work together. And when they're cross work together, that's the imbalance. Oh, well, I'm working out, but I'm not losing weight.
Yeah.
They're crossing over, and it's not supposed to be like that. But the only way to regulate it is being balanced. Me knowing that, my whole mindset was like, okay, I'm going into this as an experiment. So it was easy to go through it the first couple times.
Yeah.
Because I was learning. So it was more of a learning factor, which is great. And then once you know something works, it's like almost like reading a book. Oh my God, this book is great. I don't want to stop reading.
Yeah, you want to keep trying, keep learning, keep seeing what happens.
Yeah, so I've now realized that in fasted states, I'm able to learn things because my mind just is like, okay, we're not eating. Now you need to stimulate me with yeah. So
it opens up for more.
And they always the specialists always, the fasting specialists say you need to be busy, or you're going to be dealing with
boredom.
Boredom.
Boredom brings your mind to places that it doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of ties back into someone who's not fasting, the regular, just boredom in general, right? You end up eating because that's what you do.
Right.
Why not? There's something to, that keeps your hands busy, keeps your mouth busy.
Yeah.
And we so forget that we might not need the food. It's just there.
Yeah. Well that now in the sense of fasting, it meshes a lot with your world, because at the end of the day, when you are eating, that mindset needs to be there. And that's where I get to chime into, like, just seeing your videos and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, again, that whole balance of like the two worlds, but being able to keep that mindset, like, or those positive frequencies that.
Well, I think doing it too allows your brain to know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So you've done this before. It probably the first time you did, your brain's like freaking out. What's going on? Oh my God, I can't handle this. But then you do it more often. Your brain understands. Oh, okay, yep, I've been here before. I've experienced this before. It's going to be okay. So it allows you to do more each time. I'm sure.
Yeah. And again, I've done over pretty close to 200 hours now.
Wow.
But I started in July, and now we're here in December, and I've been able to drop like 60 pounds.
Wow.
And not only drop the 60 pounds, but from all the
And
trial.
we're not talking 60 pounds all at once. This is, a steady state of
steady,
safe,
4 pounds here, 5 pounds here. Because I was doing after I would do like a 4-day, then it would be like refeed time, see how my body adjusts. Do I shoot back up? Like, this is regulating.
Exactly,
okay, let me try it again. Boom. So I went from like 6 to 8 pounds, regulated a little bit, took a break, bam, went back in, learned some more, and it just like, I chopped it. I was just chopping it. But it was very strategic. Again, that mindset, having a plan, not just like, jumping in and staying in and.
Yeah, and I feel like that can be dangerous, because so many times, so many clients, they just, I hear about this new fad, let me test this out, let me try it, and that's where yo-yo diet comes in. And so the fasting is not a yo-yo diet, it's a recalibration of your body and your mind, putting it together. And each time you do it, you learn more.
Yeah, I like to tell people, look, I use it as a tool. It's not a diet, because you can eat whatever you want, in the sense of like,
when you're not fasting.
Yeah, when you're not fasting and you figured out what works for you.
Yeah.
You can eat whatever you want. So it's a tool for me to help regulate. Like, now I use it in a sense, and it's different for women. Women are different because you have 3 different parts of your month. Yeah, which I dove into that, and now I love it, because now I know the girl's world. I even learned emotions on how to. I'm not gonna throw it all out. I gotta test it with the wife,
You gotta test it out with him first.
But there's
He'll get back to you on that.
There's different parts of your world that we can actually, we have the benefit to do it every day.
Yeah.
But you girls actually have the benefit not to do it every day.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at it, they're both benefits.
Yeah, women have to be a little bit more strategic when it comes to fasting, and when it comes to working out and diets, and there's a lot on that too.
Goes to show why y'all are even more perfect than guys, right? You got to be a little more perfect than us.
Yeah. Of course, we have a little bit more to do.
Yeah, right. But it was just fascinating just learning the girl side, because girls just can't do it like the men.
Yeah.
But if they do it right, then they don't mess up their whole hormonal balance. Because one thing I learned from the girl side is you guys have to pass through the menstrual cycle has to pass through,
and we have to be safe with it too, because I know from my experience, when I originally lost 40 pounds back in the beginning of COVID, I had never dieted before. I had never been on a calorie restriction before, and my body handled it really well in the sense that it released weight, it released fat, but it did it really quickly. And so because it did it so quickly, my hormones were completely thrown off, and I lost my period.
Yeah.
And I only lost my period for, I think, almost 2 months, but it threw off my hormones enough to know that, okay, it needs to be slower and it needs to be more calculated and meticulous, especially for women. You have to be careful with that.
Agreed. Now, weight loss versus fat loss. What's your theory on that?
Well,
I don't need to go deep, but just a quick snippet for the viewers, because they put it together and it's not together.
Yeah. I think everyone thinks I just want to see the scale go down, and the scale is going to go down, but really it's important. What you're talking before, the subcutaneous fat, the visceral fat. That's what we want to remove from our system so we can feel better. So it's not necessarily the weight, the pounds on the scale, but when we are in a fat loss phase, we want to be in a calorie deficit. But in order to stay in that fat loss phase, and we're not just losing weight wherever it pleases, because again, your body, when you're in a calorie deficit, it just wants to release because it's calories, it's math, right? It's calories in versus calories out. But in order to stay in a weight loss phase, you need to eat enough protein and you need to strength train. That's the two biggest things, and sleep, of course.
Now for the viewers, and again, this is something that I'm diving in myself, because when I fast, I'm not eating, but my body's able to preserve and keep my muscle, and even sometimes help it grow. Like, when it comes to protein, how do you feel? Because I also feel it's like both. Like, I do believe that protein does nourish yourself, and it does.
You're having enough protein. That's the thing. When you're fasting based off of what you gave it before. It's hoarding what you've given it, right?
Correct.
So when you're eating enough protein for the day. You're working your muscles so that they have something to work with, right? So that's what your body's going off of when you fast.
And in terms of fat loss and weight gain, what do you feel is the precursor that prevents you from not losing the weight and you gaining the weight, with people still working out, obviously, at the same time? Do you get my question? So people that are working out, a lot of them plateau. They give the whole plateau thing, and but I'm still meeting my macros, and I'm still sleeping. We don't know, but
I think that's the tough thing. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. I've had clients that say, "Well, I'm doing all the things." I said, "Well, give me the data, right?" The biggest thing I like to say is, let's be data driven, not drama driven, right? Give me the data. Let's see the data. Are you tracking your macros every single day? Are you accurately tracking? Is what you're putting into MyFitnessPal, MacroFirst, whatever you're tracking with, is that actually what you're putting into your body? Or are you working out as hard as you used to work out? And if you truly are in a plateau, then there's a couple things you do. You either give yourself a break, you give the diet break, as we call, just chill out for a little bit, fasting, it's an extreme version of the chill out because it's allowing your body to recalibrate. Sometimes your body just gets too stressed out and you just need to reset. But another thing is, sometimes the dreaded plateau is exactly what happens, because what happens when you're working out, you're burning calories, right? It's calories in versus calories out. It's all a math equation. So when you're eating really low, your body doesn't want to eat low. It likes to be at homeostasis. It likes to have calories in at the same as calories out.
Yeah.
But when your calories in are way lower than calories expended, your body's eventually, it's going to do three things. One, it's going to fight you on it. So it's going to make you hungry, and it's going to
it's going to force you.
It's going to force
balance
you
it
to
out,
try to eat more. But
Yeah.
if you're diligent and you say, no, I'm not eating more, it's going to say, oh, fine. So then it's just going to lower your energy. So you won't have to burn as much, and you'll be tired. And you can still push past that. So if you push past that, eventually your body still does not want to be in this state in between. It will eventually lower your basal metabolic rate. So it'll eventually meet you where you're at.
And to chime in with a little bit fasting in there,
Yeah.
one is in that state because that does happen. And in the fastest state, that's where it taps into your stored calories
Ketosis.
to kind of level it out, but it's only reserved for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Like if once you lose it, you lost it.
Yeah,
and
it's not
you
there.
know, that's why like fasting is a tool. It's not like you can't live not eating. You have to eat.
You have to eat. You have to nourish.
Because eventually, it's almost like if for those who get too drunk or too stimulated on a chemical or whatever, the body shuts you down. Like you pass out or you end up in the hospital.
Exactly.
And flushing your system out.
It's like your body's going to meet you where it's at, and where it's at if you're eating low is not a healthy state.
Yep.
So in order to answer your question, in order to change that so that you can start losing weight, you need to reverse diet. You need to and reverse dieting is pulling that low basal metabolic rate up so that we can be at a healthy amount. So if you're meeting it here, we need to slowly pull it up. And how do we do that? The same way we lower you down, your body is able to adapt down and up. But only if we go nice and slow. So let's say we're eating if we're eating at 1,200 calories and your body eventually lowers yourself down to it. If we start eating at 2,000 calories right away, your body doesn't know what's happening because, again, remember, your body likes to deal with what's familiar. So it's going to hoard. And that's when we see that weight gain. But the key to forever, keeping that weight off and not regaining it is that reverse diet, to slowly add in 25 to 50 calories every week, every other week, however everyone's body's different. So that we can heal.
No, but it's the same way you slowly diminish is the same way you should slowly regain. So it's not you put it perfectly. Like people, if you didn't get that, rewind it, and if you need more information, make sure you hit her up. Okay, because I gotta go. Holidays. We're hitting Christmas. We just passed Thanksgiving. People are going to get into these resolutions. What would be your best holiday advice? And we'll get in deeper conversation about this once we hear your feedback on this and whatnot. And because this was a great conversation. What would be your number one advice? And then a follow-up advice if they can't do number one.
So the number one advice is to ask yourself what your values and your priorities are, right? Are your values to stay on track, not eat that extra donut that someone brought into the break room, and go to the gym every day? Is that your value, or is your value to slow down this time of year? Because I think that's important, right? I think we have to be realistic with ourselves. We could say, I'm going to stick to my goals, and nothing's going to stop in my way. But that mindset is going to blow out of the way when something comes in, right? Plan for those obstacles. So ask yourself, number one, my piece of advice, what are your values and priorities? What is important to you? Be realistic about that. And it's okay if, I want to have that donut that comes in. Fine. Be okay with that. No shame. There's no, we're not shaming here. We're not going down that spiral of guilt and being upset with ourselves. No, you accepted that, right? It's about acceptance. I'm accepting that this time of year, I know, my coworker is going to bring in her Christmas cookies and I'm going to have it. I'm accepting that. Acceptance. Fine. If not, that's okay. If you want to stick to your goals and you don't want to eat that, that's fine. But how are you going to be realistic about it when someone does bring in their cookies and is a food pusher and says, hey, here, try these. I made these. Come on, they're really good. Come on, it's only once a year. Just try it. Come up with a plan for, the worst case scenario when that does happen. So, number one, what are your values and priorities? Number two, Come up with a plan for all the worst case scenarios so that you can feel prepared when they come up, because they're going to come up.
So just let's give them one scenario. I bring you a box of cookies. Give me one rebuttal you can give me. I bring you pie because I love pie.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for pie or carrot cake.
Good to know. I make
What?
the best carrot cake in the world. I make it for my birthday.
Now I'm
I'll
being
come next
stimulated.
year.
What can I say if I really don't want it, but I do want it? I really know I can't have it now,
Yeah.
but I would love a taste. What would be my rebuttal?
Well,
Even if I shouldn't have a taste. I know I shouldn't have the
so
taste.
you don't want the taste.
I do want the taste, but I shouldn't have it now because I already set a plan and I'm already here. And now I'm in this scenario of like being tempted.
Yeah. Look at his body language right now. He is tense. He's in a scarcity mentality right now. This is a scarcity mentality. We have to call this out because that's where this is coming from, right?
Yes.
You are feeling, oh, I really want it now, but I can't have it now.
Yeah.
You can always have it in the future.
Yeah.
You can always have it in the future.
Okay.
And that's okay. You might not be able to have it right now. That's okay. You can always have it in the future. And if you want to take it in and, test it, put it out of sight, so you're not tempted, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And plan it into your day tomorrow. Like if you've already planned your day, you know exactly what you're gonna have today and that's gonna throw you off today, plan it in tomorrow.
Okay, so as a reward, you're saying?
It doesn't have to be a reward, right? Life is not about, we're not 5 years old. We don't need rewards and punishments.
Okay.
But if you want it, but today, I already made the plan today, it'll ruin my day and I don't want it to ruin my day, you can have it tomorrow. And if it's going to ruin your tomorrow and it is not going to fit into your day, guess what? That's okay too. You can have it another time. And it doesn't even have to be that specific thing. Because good food is all around us. Good experience is all around us. And the feeling that I'm literally getting, that energy I'm getting from you thinking about carrot cake, thinking about pie, that is just good experiences of life that you can get anywhere. And that's really what your mindset when you're thinking of, oh, I love pie, I'm a sucker for a good piece of pie. It's the feeling that you're associating with the pie. It's not the pie itself.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely right.
So that's my rebuttal there.
You literally calmed me down by just telling me that too, by the way.
It's
I thought
so
you know
important.
that.
It's so important to just call yourself out in the moment. And I do this. This is what I do. I talk to myself. Natalie, you do not need that piece of cheese. You are having dinner in 1 hour. You don't need it. I know you think you need it, but you don't need it. Talking to yourself is so important.
Yeah. In the fasting world, I find ginger shots and take it down.
Those always work too.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was amazing.
It was great.
Yeah.
I'm
we
glad
are going to do this again because there's more things I need to pick from her brain because I need it in my feed so that I can just keep watching it on repeat.
I'll be back.
But yeah, and I'll be black.
Love it.
Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.